If I do that, I don't look Hispanic, I look schizophrenic, let's face it. But they stop asking questions real quick after that. And I also cannot pretend that I don't speak Spanish, because somehow they sniff me out. It's gotta be the carne asada. I don't know what it is, but something on me reeks of Latino, which is fine. Because I love speaking Spanish, actually. I watch the Spanish channel, which everybody in here watches, including all the white people. But the weird people is, not only do the white people not speak Spanish, but they enjoy the Spanish channel more than Spanish people do. That's the weirdest part. We all love the Spanish channel, right? Because it's got great stuff. It's got shiny things and boobs. Everybody loves the Spanish channel. Which is really, that's the formula for a good television show right there. Shiny shit and boobs. Right there, you got a show forever. I love the Spanish channel news. I don't like the American news. I don't like the news. I like las noticias. Because in the Spanish channel, they don't tell you the news. They yell you the news. It's like their broadcast got a West Side apartment window. It's different. See, if you're watching an American news station, no matter how bad the story is, and let's face it, guys, the news is bad. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it is crappy news, right? But if you're watching an American news channel, what's the newscaster always got on his face? A smile. He's calm. He's even keeled. There's a picture of burning chaos right behind the guy's head. But he's got that big Seacrest smile. This evening on the 10 o'clock news, brush fires are spreading across California. That is not how we roll on the Spanish channel, because Latinos are not known for calm subtlety in the face of danger. You put that same story on the Spanish channel, bienvenidos a las noticias. Esta noche, en California, todo está quemando. ¡Ay, qué lástima! ¡Corre para tu vida! And now, here's our weather lady, topless and in a thong. See, everybody does watch the Spanish shit. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. Sometimes you don't even want to watch the Spanish channel and boom, there it is. You start flipping the channels and boom, right before your eyes. You ever flip through the channels really late at night? You catch an old movie that you love, that you've seen 1,000 times, but it's dubbed in Spanish, and you watch it anyway. I love it, because it's usually an old action movie from the 80s. And I want to be the first Latino action movie superstar, because we have never had one. Every ethnicity had their own back then. The Italians had Stallone, the Austrians had Schwarzenegger, like 8 different races claimed Vin Diesel. Eurotrash had Jean-Claude Van Damme. Fat people, Steven Seagal. The elderly had Chuck Norris. The Chinese have Jackie Chan. The Japanese, Hello Kitty. Everyone has somebody. I am also half Italian. And when I grew up, I watched all of Stallone's movies. And I love that dude. But he changed, didn't he? He went from Rocky Balboa to Rocky Balbotox. Oh my God. What did that man do to his face? Who told him that looked good? Some doctor took his eyebrows and stuck them up by his new toupee. Sylvester Stallone is 63 years old and he's in great shape. He made a new Rocky movie and a new Rambo movie after he turned 60. But in those movies, he doesn't look mean during the fight scenes. He looks surprised that he's fighting people. A lot of you remember Jean-Claude Van Damme. You don't see him anymore, and there's a reason for that. And oddly enough, not his acting. Jean-Claude Van Damme is the first man to have actually coked his movie career away. What that means is that guy did so much cocaine, got arrested so many times, and thrown in jail so many times in America that the American movie studios cannot insure him to show up. They can insure Charlie Sheen, they cannot insure Jean-Claude Van Damme. So he coked his movie career away. Do you guys know how much cocaine you have to do to get thrown out of Hollywood? Nick Nolte's eating the geraniums off of some guy's lawn in East LA right now. And he works all the time. Jean-Claude Van Damme is doing splits straight to video. He must have done a lot of coke. I guess at the height of his career, Jean-Claude just flew down to Colombia and was like, okay, you see that big forest over there? Yes, I would like to put it in my nose. I love the action movies on the Spanish channel because you get excited before it even comes on. Because that guy with that great voice comes on right before the movie. That Spanish broadcaster voice tells you what movie you're about to watch. Esta noche, en Cinema Latino, Shia LaBeouf y Megan Fox en Transformadores. Clint Eastwood y Hilary Swank en $1 Million Bebé. Tobey Maguire y Kirsten Dunst en Spider-Man. And then you watch the movie and it sounds like all of the voices in the movie are that same guy. Mary Jane, tengo que decirte algo importante. ¿Qué tienes que decir, Peter? Same guy, both voices. I don't know if you guys knew that. Now, some people who don't know Spanish think that joke is silly because they ask, why does the Spanish guy butcher the word Spider-Man in English? Why doesn't he just say the Spanish word for Spider-Man? Because it's a full sentence, that's why. In Espanol, Spider-Man roughly translates to El asombroso hombre con el poder de la araña. I don't think that's marketable. Try putting all of that on a Taco Bell cup. You'd have to put like chunks of the phrase across the cup, the nachos, and the burrito. El hombre con el poder de la araña. Meal. I don't know about you guys, but I think Taco Bell's got enough problems without putting the word araña on their food. Now, I love Spider-Man, but I'm glad he's not Latino, because we know that movie would be different. If he was actually Latino, he wouldn't use his powers to fight the forces of evil. He would use his powers to hold down extra jobs, let's face it. He'd climb buildings to wash the windows. He'd use his web fluid to hold together old crappy cars. He'd be different. He'd use his spider sense to pick up the lottery numbers the next day. He'd be a very different Spider-Man. I love my family. I had a crazy family. By the way, clap if you're a grandparent. I want to hear any grandparents in the room. I love you guys. I have a grandparent that she has reached a level of her life that I want to get to someday. She has reached a level I like to call trash-talking grandma. Anybody got trash-talking grandma in your family? Yeah, you just pointed her out. Thank you. She's not nearly old enough for that job. This is what it is. When you get to that level, this is when your grandparent gets so old that you can't hurt their feelings because you're afraid they're going to die soon, but they can hurt your feelings constantly. They say horrible things to you, and you just have to sit there and take it because you never know when they're going to go. And the thing is, my grandmother is an amazing, amazing lady. She's 93 years old, and she has survived everything. We cannot kill her. She keeps going. I'll tell you a little about her. She is 93 years old, and she has survived everything life's thrown at her. She's survived breast cancer, diabetes. She survived losing Cuba. She's 4'7" and shrinking. She's got bad arthritis, a bad attitude, and she doesn't care what she says out loud anymore. Actually, whatever noise comes out of either end of that tiny woman is somebody else's problem now. And she's really loud, and we thought she was going deaf. And we asked her doctor, they said her hearing is perfect. I guess she figures before she goes deaf, she's going to take me down with her. Now, she hates everybody, and she wants to talk to you about it, so you can't take her in public. Because she's really loud, she doesn't like people, and she points, which makes it worse. Now, my grandmother does not speak English, only Spanish. But she now believes that Spanish is a secret code that only her and her family can crack. And my grandmother lives in Southern California, where this is a difficult trick to pull off. If she was speaking English, less people would know what she's saying down there. So sometimes you gotta tell her, hey grandma, dudes with neck tattoos, sunglasses, and plaid shirts buttoned up on, understand you're talking crap. Keep it down. But she knows she doesn't have to fight, so she won't keep it down. Like I said, she's got really bad arthritis, so it looks like she's throwing up gang signs. And they're scared of her, and they should be. I used to live in my grandmother's house, All right, I still live in my grandmother's house. But one of these days, she's going to forget she owns it. It's going to be mine. So the thing is, my grandmother, I used to live on the top floor. My grandmother used to live on the center floor. And my mom used to live on the first floor, which really does wonders for your self-esteem, I might add. When you're a young Hispanic guy trying to get a date and you have mom on the first floor and grandma on the second floor. But the best thing was, we used to have guests at the house, and they were treated to like Cuban treats, like fried bananas, or being yelled at like I was always. But I'll never forget, one day my friend Damon came to the house, and no one knew who Damon was. He was a friend that the family hadn't met yet. Damon walked up to the door. Now Damon's a fairly large African-American fella. This is going to become painfully relevant in 1 second. So he rings the doorbell. Now I lived on the third floor. My grandmother always had to answer the first floor door. So she went downstairs, opens up the door, and then, didn't say a word to him, just looks up the stairs and yells, "Tomasito, hay un negro grande a la puerta!" Now, for those of you who don't speak Spanish, if you've been to Starbucks before, you understand what my grandmother said. "Honey, there's a big black at the door," is really the literal translation. Now, the thing is, she just walked away, leaving me with the bag for the whole thing. So I go downstairs, and it's my poor friend Damon. I felt terrible. I shook his hand after I put down my bat. It was very embarrassing. And I hear my grandmother laughing her ass off upstairs. Because let's face it, guys, my grandmother, not a racist. She's just a jerk, quite frankly. And she enjoys being one. And she